Good afternoon. Welcome to Vision and Voice. This is our second session with Parish President Cynthia Sheng, and today we have Councilman-At-Large Ricky Templet. It's Holy Week here in Jefferson Parish, and while we're preparing for Easter, we're also still working through this pandemic. Wanted to just kick off and say we're going to talk with our elected officials here today, and I'm also going to give a little bit of an update on some of the business resources that are available to our employers out there that are desperately looking for how do I get back up and running as soon as possible. In the interim, how do I at least pay my employees and keep the lights on? But we'll start today with our parish president, Cynthia Sheng. Just wanted to open it up for some comments, kind of where are we today? What are some of the precautions that we need to take going into Easter weekend? And what are some of the items or necessities that we're really looking for?
So today, you know, what we've seen in Louisiana and Jefferson Parish is we still climb. We're just about at 4,000 cases in Jefferson Parish. We're at actually 3,922 with 137 deaths, which is tough for us to handle every day when we get those numbers at noon. The piece that I keep stressing is that I know when people look at the national news and they turn on their TV and they go online, they hear this talked about all over the place. But make no mistake, Louisiana leads the country in the number of cases per capita and the death rate per capita. And so that's some, interesting issues that when you look at Louisiana and we lead the country, then you look at the greater New Orleans area, those numbers are even higher here because we're a hot spot. So as a city per capita, we definitely lead the country in the number of deaths and the number of cases. What's challenging to us in government right now is that I think people are starting to have cabin fever, coupled with the weather being absolutely gorgeous outside, and you're having people looking for creative ways to sort of socialize, even so at a distance, but getting out to the parks. We had to shut down the Bonneville boat launch on Sunday because it just got too crowded. We're very concerned about Easter weekend coming up, so we are making the decision to, some of our more popular spots are Lafayette Park, Bucktown boat launch, Bucktown, the marina, and the Bonneville boat launch. So we just decided to close that to vehicular traffic on Easter Sunday. We had some concerns from our employees. I don't want to put our Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office in the position to have to approach crowds. They all have families. Their families are concerned about them. So we're just going to take that off the table and say, please enjoy your Easter, but please do it in your neighborhood. Have a, lunch or dinner outside in your backyard with your family. And just, it's a change for Easter this year, but we're still very much in the midst of this, and we really need to follow the stay-at-home order and the social distancing.
Great. Well, look, it is an odd Easter, and when we talk about virtual everything, I mean, everything's going virtual, right? So it's certainly a lot of precautions that we have to take, and I keep saying we're almost there, but we do certainly have a few more weeks to go.
Yes, and we're hoping to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but even when they say, the models are that the social distancing remains, right? We don't want to uptick. So if we're about to start seeing maybe the light at the end of the tunnel and the models are a little conflicting as to that, some think we might be coming out of it. The governor made an announcement that for ventilators this week we should be okay, which was great news for us. Sure. But it all assumes that we continue the social distancing, so that's very important.
Talk about some of the needs we have in our healthcare system. I know that blood shortage is one of those, and just as we have at the chamber, we've postponed everything, right? Well, a lot of blood drives were postponed, and I know that that's one of the needs. And maybe you can talk to that and anything else that maybe people could help with.
Absolutely. I think people who they see so much need out in the community, and they're not working and they're staying home, and there's sort of a helplessness feeling of, I know so many people are struggling. Our medical community is just at the forefront of this. They are, and how are they not tired? How are they not just physically exhausted, mentally exhausted? It's an emotional, trying time for them. So what I've been encouraging is please give blood. Please donate to the nonprofit that is on the front line of this issue. We and the council members, our chairman is here, has been very involved in matching that food demand to the need through Second Harvest. So we know Second Harvest is certainly on the front line. That is my nonprofit of choice right now. Please consider donating. Please consider picking up a dinner at a local restaurant for the nurse or the doctor or the person that works at the hospital in your neighborhood and dropping off dinner to them. So now you're helping small business, you're helping your favorite restaurant, and then you're doing a great deed for someone who's really struggling, just going to work every day. So
Sure.
there are many, many ways to help, and any amount of money, $5, $50, $500, whatever you can afford, makes you part of the cause of, you know, getting over this.
And just make sure it's a bona fide nonprofit,
Yes,
right?
absolutely, and a nonprofit on the front line of this issue, right?
Right,
Yes.
exactly. And if you're unsure, you can always go to the United Way, because they're working with all of the organizations around town. So United Way of Southeast Louisiana, it's doing a great job as well. So let's shift gears a little bit. Councilman-At-Large Ricky Templet. Let's talk about, again, we're going into Easter weekend, and I know there's some changes, particularly on the West Bank and in Grand Isle, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit.
And Todd, thank you for having us
Sure.
today and getting our message out. Yeah, there are a lot of changes, and you know, I like to compliment Madam President for all the hard work and keeping the public informed, and keep putting out there staying social distancing. I mean, that's more important now than anything. One of the problems is that we're looking for a trend to trend down, but we don't want people to become complacent and not follow protecting their families, protecting our elderly, and keeping the distance they need to adequately make themselves safe. You know, Grand Isle has taken some steps under the Emergency Declaration and Police Act, is where no one is allowed on Grand Isle unless you live there. They have closed the beaches. They have closed the entrance to Grand Isle. If you're a resident of Grand Isle, you can go to the island. If you need to get a day pass to leave the island to go to the doctor or to go to get some type of supplies, they give you a day pass so you can come back home. But if you're a camp owner, you're not allowed back to the island, except if you have been already quarantined for over 2 weeks at the location. So
At
if
the
you're
location, meaning Grand Isle.
Grand Isle.
Yeah.
If you've already been quarantined from the beginning of this event, and you went down to Grand Isle and you were a camp owner, and you've been there for the last 2 weeks, and quarantined there already, then you're allowed to stay. But you have to stay within your camp itself and stay inside your facility and around your facility. What they're trying to do is, as of today, we still have no reports of the virus being on the island. So they're trying to keep the island coronavirus free.
Sure.
You roughly have 1,200 residents on Grand Isle. It could be devastating, and it is an older population. So, you know, you cannot visit Grand Isle as of today.
It's an older population. It's only 1,200 people, but at the same time, there's not a lot of health care there, right? I mean, we have 2 medics there. Is that right?
Well, you have one ambulance,
Yeah.
with a paramedic that's on it at all times. And let's give you an example. If someone was to come down with the virus and they had to escort them to Jefferson Parish to West Jeff Hospital, it's roughly about a 7-hour round trip for an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
That means for 7 hours, the island has 0 medical service on it until that ambulance gets back. So if someone has a heart attack,
Right.
a stroke, or a broken limb, the closest medical service you have is in Galliano, 45 minutes to 50 minutes away.
So obviously this has all been thought out. I mean, this is, and I know everybody wants to go to their camp, wants to go to Grand Isle Easter weekend. It's a big tradition, sort of kind of kick off the spring, getting ready for the summer. But this is just not the time. We just need to still social distance and follow the rules and be aware, right?
And just follow what we've been saying from day one. You know, make sure you keep your distance, protect your family. If you want to contact and you want to see your elderly family members, you said it. You know, we have ways of doing that. Okay, you know, we have virtual reality now. Do FaceTime,
Right.
And you know, and visit your relatives.
Lots of ways to do that
Right.
now. Cynthia, let's talk a little bit about the people that are highest at risk. And this is a subject that whenever I mention this, either in a text or an email or a phone call, even with my own family, that I like, oh, really? And so, you know, we look at the news as of today, and it's talking about people with hypertension, people with chronic kidney disease. I mean, what are we seeing? Is that pretty typical across Jefferson Parish, the same sort of statistics that this virus is just seemingly attaching itself to?
It's troubling statistics, especially for us in Jefferson Parish. As our chairman said, you know, the residents on Grand Isle are older. In Jefferson Parish, 25% of our population is over 60. So we know the vulnerable population's an elderly population, We know the vulnerable populations are people who have those outstanding medical conditions, the comorbidities as we call it, so the hypertension, the kidney, the heart, the high blood pressure, and all of those problems.
All of those things that
all
our
of those
area
things
leads
that
the country in.
we have
Yeah.
it, and and it's troubling if you Google like unhealthy estates in the United States, Louisiana's always in the top 5.
Right.
So that's some tough statistics for us. Yesterday, the governor released, the state released, and NOLA.com did an article about the death rate is just a high percentage of black people dying, overwhelmingly, when you only have about 23% of our population is African American, but the death rate is so much higher. That's a very troubling statistic. So we need to get that message out about really, again, the conflicting, going out and it just being a beautiful day and you want to celebrate and you want to socialize, that we're really in our dark days still, very much, very dangerous times to really stay inside, socially distance.
And it just runs against our culture here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it really does.
And it's crawfish season.
It's crawfish season, right. This is supposed to be, what is it, the big celebration of the zoo with Dermatomus?
Exactly.
Yeah, so all these things that go on.
This time of year with Easter and all coming, it's the biggest gatherings usually that kicks off our summer.
Right.
Okay, and
Sure.
this is usually when everybody comes together. Glad to see, Aunt and Grandpa and the grandkids at an Easter event. And that's what makes it harder for our people here.
Absolutely. From a business standpoint, are you guys hearing optimism about the loan program and people wanting to get back to work and employing, keeping their employees on track?
I think the stimulus bill, that was passed, which is the largest relief package in the United States history, was very much a relief in many uses of that word. I know we've discussed the banks have had some questions, so and you all have been absolutely wonderful, you and Jetco, in getting out what's could be very complex set of legislation and trying to really drill it down to a user-friendly, understandable package for business owners to try to apply for some of these loans. And it's just critical, and like we always say, try to, if you're on the verge, try to hold out and keep that payroll going, because once you stop the payroll, so many other problems start happening.
That's
so
right.
I think, the legislation was brilliant in that, the loans are going to be forgiven, which is an incredible opportunity for a business to have this time forgiven,
Sure.
So again, you all have just been so critical for us. We all have different parts of this.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And you all have just been the front line of that relief to the businesses and helping to translate it into a user-friendly kind of format for people.
And I think our business partners and businesses without the parish need to start contacting their bank to make sure they start going through the loan process to make this a reality.
Yeah, I agree. And we're getting that message out. Call your local bank, start the process. And there's actually 2 loans. The Payroll Protection Act is through your local financial institution. And there's been some hiccups on that, as you mentioned. I mean, that bill was passed on a Sunday and rolled out on a Friday. Anytime you try to do that nationwide through a government entity as large as the SBA and communicating with community banks and large banks and everybody in between, there's going to be some hiccups and some roadblocks. But that's one of them, and that's again for the payroll for the first 8 weeks and keep your lights on, pay your rent. But there's also working capital loans through the SBA. People can go directly to SBA.gov. It's a very short, literally 4 or 5 minute application that you can fill out for working capital. Even if you don't think I need it, go ahead and apply for it, because you might also qualify for an immediate $10,000 grant. And if you do need to draw down that loan at some point, you can. Those loans for a business is 3.5%. And depending on how much you draw down, there's different parameters, but it could be as much as a 30-year amortization. So really, there's a lot of programs out there to help businesses get back up and running. And we hope that this all gets out of the way soon so that we can get everything back up and running. But I'll mention that all of those loan programs that I just mentioned, all of the resources are available at jeffersonchamber.org. That includes the federal programs through the SBA. There's also loan programs now and grant programs through the State Department of Economic Development. So a lot of opportunities to bring business back, which hopefully we're talking about very, very shortly.
And Todd, look, we're all in this together.
Yep.
And we're gonna come through this together. We've been through many man-made disasters, natural disasters, and we will come out this together.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the partnership with the elected officials. I think anytime you go through something like this, you have to have the business community and the civic community and the elected officials working together. We've always had that good relationship, but this is certainly where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Anything else you guys have to add?
No, I think, you know, to agree fully with what you're saying, I'm reaching out to where all are, you know, our hospitals, our school board, our sheriff's office, and we were always on the public side delivering what I thought excellent services, but we all were kind of in our own lane.
Right.
And we all knew, like, we can be stronger together, and these relationships that we're creating, fighting this crisis, will result in stronger. I feel like we've been on the defense, we've been playing defense for a couple weeks, and I can't wait to play offense,
Right,
you know, with these
right.
same partners as for the rest of the year. So we all are looking forward to that.
And that's a really good point, because we have a new council that just came into office in January, and then March, you know.
We were only 9 weeks in.
Right.
The whole,
you know?
the whole world stops, and so,
Right.
so it has been a good chance to develop those relationships within the council and externally. You know, with the school superintendent and Kate Rumley and Sheriff Joe Lopento and Jerry Satanovich, who's our coroner, and others. And so I think it's really been a good opportunity. Look, let's face it, we don't move our businesses forward, our parishes forward without relationships, which is built on trust. And so if there's a silver lining, maybe that's it.
Right,
We'll
agree.
hope so.
Well, one of the differences with this kind of disaster compared to the ones we were related to before is normally we're rebuilding buildings and structures.
Right.
Okay, what we have to do as partners with each other is rebuild our economy.
That's right.
In businesses. And look, without our people who are on the front line right now, our nurses, our doctors, our EMS, our police officers, and so on, we would really be in a world of pain right now. And I really want to thank each and every one of us, all of us do, for all the hard work and what they're doing for us as citizens and our parish.
Sure. Yeah, they're doing a great job. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that we're not just reminded with images and Facebook posts and all of these different things of the first responders. So thank you to all the first responders. So quickly before we go, Council Chairman, we're doing some real innovative things in Jefferson Parish with our council meetings right now. I mean, I know we're not having our regular meetings, but we're virtual, right? Correct.
Well, this week is our first virtual council meeting. We've been trying to do a few mock-ups to make sure we pull it off right. It is a fluid situation, just like everything else around us.
Right.
So we're looking forward to a good meeting, getting the people's work done at the same time, but practicing social distance.
Great, great. So the meeting agendas and the time of the meetings and how to access those, that's all at jeffparish.net.
Yes, correct.
And I know that it'll be on the Jefferson Parish television channel.
Absolutely.
And also on Facebook, correct?
Correct.
So, so that's jeffparish.net. Our website of the chamber is jeffersonchamber.org. And finally, I want to mention another website. I know there's a lot of people out there looking for work. WorkNOLA is really building up their job site. So if you're looking for work, worknola.com is a great site to go to. Some really, you know, just really a diverse site of job opportunities that are out there. So thank you both for visiting with us and in our second Vision and Voice. And happy Easter.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.